Shalom, Ka'ala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rakwadash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David, reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the world debt and talk about who the world is indebted to. But let's read this first. This is Proverbs 21:6. The getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a vanity tossed to and fro of them that seek death. So today the Lord's put it on my spirit to just get into the financial news, and this article basically stood out because of just what the title says. Man, this shows you how much the entire world is indebted. Okay, now the thing about this 2.3 quadrillion global time bomb, right, which this article's reporting. This is from Zero Hedge. Right, we'll get into this article, but I just want to talk a little bit about, who this money is owed to. Now, a lot of this money is simply made up, right? Fiat, right, which is basically false money, right? It's by the decree of the Lord, right? It is created, right? This isn't actual money or wealth that was traded. This is simply a bunch of zeros that were added onto spreadsheets somewhere and some computer on some sheet in some office in some country belonging to somebody, right? And unfortunately, this is the way that this world works. Okay, this is how the majority of the world is now indebted to the owners of the world, right? And who are the owners of the world? Well, let's take a look. Right, it tells you here in Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Now, the wicked are the so-called Caucasian race, right? Who biblically are known as the Edomite race. Okay, the Edomite nation, the nation of Edom. Okay, when you get into Genesis chapter 10. The Bible declares unto us the 13 nations which existed, and then when it continues on, it ultimately brings about the additional nations that are birthed, right, making a total of 18 nations which rule the earth today, or rule up, which are upon the face of the earth today, and which are ruled over, or which is prophesied to be ruled over by the nation of Edom in the last days, right? You see, these Edomites, through their schemes, through their manipulation, their deception, their force, their blessing, right? They are the rulers of the earth, right? They were given dominion over the earth, and this right now is their heaven, right? This is why heaven, right, is basically just a state of being. Okay, there is no such thing as floating in the sky with fluffy clouds and having wings on your backs, and you're using a harp and there's little naked babies flying around you. No, that is an illusion. That's a myth and deception created by by these devils here. This propaganda which has been set up to deceive the world. Okay, now this world ultimately is the so-called white man's heaven, right? And it is the hell for the rest of the world, namely us Israelites, right? And when I say us Israelites, I'm talking about the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline. Okay, well, these people here are the rulers of the world. Okay, and they are the ones when you get to the end of the line, when you follow the money all the way up, and you count all the debts and all the debts forward, it comes out to $2.3 quadrillion, and it ultimately leads to the footsteps of these devils, man. Right? Yes, it may ultimately go to it may land or be marked as belonging to certain credit houses, certain banks. But who are the owners of these banks? Who are the owners of these institutions? Right? Who owns these governments? Well, it's none other than your Edomites, right? And I'm not talking about your everyday down the road Joe Schmo Edomite, right? Your neighbors. Those people don't know shit. They are in the same debt prison as you are, right? As us Israelites, right? I'm talking about what this world has coined the 1%, the people who are basically the rulers of the world, okay? Who the Bible refers to as the kings of Edom, the kings of the world. Well, let's go and read this article to just show how crazy this whole thing is. Now, I'm going to skip this whole intro over here, but let's just start right here. It says, as I warned last week's article on Archegos and Credit Suisse is a bank, a Swiss bank, by the way, investment banks have created a time bomb with the 1.5 quadrillion derivatives monster. A few years ago, the BIS, the Bank of International Settlement, which, by the way, the BIS is the top bank in the world, okay? They are the bank that basically everybody owes money to. This is the bank that is in Basel, Switzerland, right? This is why, Switzerland is in the prime center of Europe, which is why we call it, or the Bible refers to it as the bottomless pit, right? This is where the elite basically infest, man. This is their one of their main places upon the earth. Switzerland, man. This is why if you go to Switzerland, it is literally heaven upon earth, man. It is so beautiful there, right? They have no GMOs. Everybody lives a lavished, beautiful lifestyle for the most part, right? And and to these devils, delight, it is basically all Caucasians that live there, man. The top elites all pretty much have houses there, okay? But that's what the Bank of International Settlements is, the BIS, right? So let's continue. A few years ago, the BIS in Basel, Switzerland, reduced the 1.5 quadrillion to 600 trillion with a pen stroke, but the real gross figure was still 1.5 quadrillion at the time. According to my sources, the real figure today is probably over 2 quadrillion. All right. So when you get into how rich these Edomite kings of the world are, that's there you go. This is what the Rothschilds, the DuPonts, the Habsburgs, all those people at the very top, man. Those 13, Edomite families, man, for the most part, that sit on top, right? The nation of Edom. This is what they actually own. This is their money supply, man. This is how rich they are. Okay, this is how much indebted they have the rest of the world. Okay, a major part of the outstanding derivatives, and by the way, derivatives are simply things like packages or like investment instruments that are made up of different things, right? Like you have maybe, let's say, 300 houses, right, put together, some, and this is known as a investment, right? You can invest in that particular stock of, let's say, 300 houses. Now, that's a very simplistic term, but derivatives are things that basically the stock market bets on, right, or buys and sells, okay? A major part of the outstanding derivatives, or OTC, over-the-counter, are hidden in off-balance sheets, special purpose vehicles. And that ultimately means these are specially created instruments of investment which are made only for the richest elites, okay? These are made up of businesses clumped together that people will invest in and stuff. And again, these sometimes are only open to specific people, like Bernie, not his name, Bernie Madoff. What's his name? They always tell him, Warren Buffett, by the way. Like Warren Buffett, when he was after the last economic collapse In 2008, I think they gave him a special investment vehicle where he could purchase certain type of special stocks of banks, right? It was only made for, let's say, him and his investment firm, right? That's an example, right? These devils, not only do they create the rules, but they bend the rules for themselves, right? This shows you how this isn't our world, man. It doesn't matter how rich you get in this world, man. You cannot make the rules as these devils do. Like it tells you in the scriptures, man. They are not in trouble as other men, so hence they are not plagued as other men, right? They make their own laws, okay? Let's continue. Leveraged assets just go up in smoke. The 30 billion in Archegos derivatives that went up in smoke over a weekend is just the tip of the iceberg. The hedge fund Archegos lost everything, and the normal uber leverage players, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Credit Suisse, Nomura, etc., lost at least 30 billion. These investment banks are making casino bets that they can't afford to lose. What their boards and top management don't realize or understand is that the traders, supported by easily manipulated risk managers, are betting the banks on a daily basis. Most of these ludicrously high bets are in the derivatives market. The management doesn't understand how they work or what the risks are, and the account managers and traders can bet billions on a daily basis with no skin in the game, but massive potential upsides if nothing goes wrong, right? And again, this is, if you watch my previous video, this is just talking about how you have a lot, pretty much all Wall Street, plus you have all the day traders and all the people who are now getting into the stock market, who are putting a lot of money into buying stocks because they hear they're gonna sell, or they're going up in price, and when they go up, they then sell off, right? This is the way that people around the world, not only just these elites, but everybody in the world who is in the stock market in some way or another, either through their finance broker, using Robinhood and all stuff. If you are making money off of the stock market, you are basically involved in this, man. You are participating in Esau's system, and hence you are participating in the system which he uses to manipulate and basically put the debt on everybody, man. Now, unfortunately, you can't really do anything about it. You not being involved in it isn't going to save the world, right? Because this car is already over the cliff, man, right? Esau has set up the system, and he is already pretty much has taken what he can out of it, man. So much so that that everybody now is starting to take advantage of the stock market, man. This is why you got the everyday man, right? Even got some of the Akim out there using Robinhood, man, because it is now a system that is now open to the majority of the world, right? And this is just another way that the Lord is bringing these Edomites' economy down, and hence He's taking them down, man. This is Habakkuk 2:6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increases that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Right? And that's exactly what these devils do, man. Right? We've here at Great Millstone, we have pounded what this scripture here says, especially this term clay. Right? When you get into clay and you look up the Blue Letter Bible, let's take a look at it real quick. Right? We'll open up the interlinear and let's go down, and it says, let's go down last. Right. Here you go. Clay. Abat.
Strong's H 5671. Avteet.
Right. It says a weight of pledges, heavy debts. Okay. There you go. Heavy debts. Right. That's what the clay means, man. And this system that we're reading, man, this is the way that Esau makes his money, right? And when you understand about these Edomites and just who Esau and his descendants, the Edomites, are, man. You understand that this is a blessing that the Lord gave him, man, right? Namely through his father, right? Isaac, right? Let's go ahead and read Esau or Edom's blessing that shows that he would have these riches, man. This is Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass that when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Right? And ultimately, the point here is where it talks about how he would live off the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven. Right? This means that he would be living off the riches of the world, man. And notice how he says that he would live by the sword. Right? Not only do these devils, right, live the most lavishly and are the most richest people in the world, man, but they not only do they accomplish that by like I said earlier, their deception, their practices, their craft, right, which is through red tape, bureaucracy, deception. But they also accomplish it through their sword, through their weaponry, through their might or their blessing that was given onto them, man. When politics and business fails, then comes in the military and the might, man. Just look up the book by Greg Palast called The Confessions of the Economic Hitman, right? There's even an amazing documentary on YouTube that you could even look up if you want to just see how crazy these devils can get when they don't get their ways politically, man. They basically bring in the whole military arm against you, man. Right? Look at what happened in Libya. Look at what happened in most of the South American countries, man. Let's see. Let's continue. It says, most of these, it says, Deutsche Bank derivatives, 600x equity. But we are now entering an era when things will go wrong. The leverage is just too high and the bet's totally out of proportion to equity, right? And that ultimately means that there's more money being spent than actually exists in the product, right? So they're basically, it's all fake money now, man. It's all fiat currency, man, right? It says, just take the notorious Deutsche Bank that had outstanding derivatives of 37 trillion against total equity of 62 billion. Right? So you see, there was only $62 billion of assets, physical things that could be bought, sold, and and held onto, right? But on this product, these physical obtainable things, these devils racked up a cost of $37 trillion, man. Right? This is because think about this, man. I'm gonna give you a little thought experiment, right? Let's say a house, right? Let's take a house, for example. Let's say a house costs $100,000 to build in materials, right? For the most part, that's how much a house costs in materials, right? Now, this $100,000 house sells for $300,000. Okay, this $300,000 house, well, now $200,000 in equity, or equity has been built, right? It has been created out of nothing. Well, let's say people spend it or pay on that house, and let's just say they pay half of it, $150,000. Well, then let's say that house goes on sale again. Well, that house now goes on sale for, let's say now, because the market has increased, let's say it goes on sale for $450,000. Well, now what's happened, right? Now you've had basically another 300,000 created out of nothing, man. So you see, and it continues on and on, right? Let's say somebody else buys that house, $450,000, and they fix it up, right? And they spend a couple of $1,000s fixing it up, and then they sell it for, let's say, $600,000, right? And then so on and so on. You see, this all goes back to that $100,000 worth of materials that were created, and everything else is just speculation. It's an increase of demand, right? But ultimately, all that money and debt has, is given to somebody, right? There's some bank, there's some person there saying that money is owed to them, and there's somebody out there saying that they are willing to pay for that, right? That's ultimately what happened here with this $37 trillion, right? And this is how you have all these millionaires and billionaires around the world right now, man. You got people out there with fake money and fake wealth, living their life lavishly, right, on the backs of other people, taking on this debt, this heavy clay, right? But let's continue. Or to put it in a different way, the equity is 0.17% of the outstanding derivatives. So a loss of 0.2% on the derivatives will wipe the share capital and the bank out. Now, the Deutsche Bank risk managers will argue that the net derivatives position is just a fraction of the 37 trillion at 20 billion. That is, of course, nonsense, as we saw with Archegos when a few banks let 30 billion over a weekend. And continuing, derivatives can only be netted down on the basis that counterparties pay up, but in a real systemic crisis, counterparties will disappear and gross exposure will remain gross, right? And right here where it says counterparties will disappear, that basically means people go bankrupt, or they leave their assets, they walk away from their cars, they no longer pay their rent, right? That's what that means by counterparties disappearing. Okay, it says so all that netting doesn't stand up to real scrutiny, but it is typical for today's casino banking world when depositors, shareholders, and governments take all the downside risk and the management all the upside, right? And that's talking about you privatize the gains, but you socialize the loss, right? Which means a clear example of this is when the stock market collapsed back in 2008, right? You had all these banks, for example, who were getting taxpayer money to bail them out, right? You had all these private companies who basically they fucked up and they basically were going to go bankrupt, right? Because they were all betting that they were going to win big and that their bets were going to come in. And what happens is they messed up. And normally, when the market is not corrupt, they would have paid for their mistakes and they would have lost their business. They would have went bankrupt. And other companies who did not play foolishly, they would have came in and took over, right? And they would have been the new kings on the mountain. But what happened? These devils in charge, these Edomites, helped out themselves, because again, they not only do they create the laws, but they change them when the game doesn't suit them. So what they do is, what did they do? They ended up paying these banks off with taxpayer money, with your money, right? And that's why you now are holding the bill for all these banks who ended up making money off of these collapses. Continuing. So let us look at the global risk picture in the financial system. Now check this out, Akim. This right here is what the world owes to these Edomite kings, these one percenters. It says global debt and liabilities, 2.3 quadrillion. Okay, look at that, man. 2.3 quadrillion. That's ridiculous, man. It tells you here, it says global debt, 300 trillion. Derivatives, basically what everybody has invested in, 1,500 trillion. Unfunded liabilities, basically money that what basically people owe, right? 500 trillion. Total debt and liabilities, 2.3 trillion. And you think the devil's not behind this, man? These devils are going to use this to get the world into the one world order money system, and pretty soon they're going to collapse not only the dollar, but pretty much all, paper currency, all these old currencies around the entire world. You're already seeing China. They've already made, and India make a move over to digital currency. Russia is soon, they're on the verge of going fully digital. You got the Federal Reserve here in America, along with the government, seriously considering moving over and bringing out the digital dollar, which has already been created. It's already there. It's already been set up, right? This is why this is happening, people, because ultimately they're going to bring forth the new world order, and it's one world currency system, which is going to be all digital. All this Bitcoin, all this, Coinbase, all this stuff right here, all the digital currencies that you're seeing coming out now are simply a step closer to bringing forth the digital currency, which will be, put on or be able to be accessed and used on what will be an implantable microchip in your right hand or in your forehead, right? Which is an RFID implantable device, right? Usually it's a chip, right? You have the one that's going to be put into your right hand, right? Or the thing that's Neuralink wants to implant into your brain, right? Devices like that. Those are the mark of the beast spoken about in Revelations 13:16, that will be implanted in your right hand or your forehand, lest no man may buy or sell save he that hath the mark. Okay, let's continue. The 2.3 quadrillion above is what the world is exposed to when the time bomb explodes. That is the total sum of global debt, derivatives, and unfunded liabilities. When all the dominoes start falling and no one can meet their obligations, this is what governments are left to finance. You see that, people? So this is the reason why people are being allowed to not be able to pay rent, why people are allowed to go into bankruptcies on such a mass scale, because these devils at the very top, these political puppets who are doing the will of their masters, these Edomite kings, the one percenters, they are being told to let the world crash and burn financially, right? And so and physically, if need be, right? Because it's going to only further the requirement for a new world order, a great reset. Okay, because these devils, they're slick, right? It tells you that Esau, these Edomites, are cunning hunters, right? They're going to push this one world order on everybody, and yes, they're gonna mandate things, but the vast majority of the world, because of the plight that has been put upon us, are going to demand these changes. They're going to demand social health care. They're going to demand social, and when I mean social, I mean free, right? What appears to be free to the people, free healthcare, free food, free, education, free, everything, right? And these devils, they're going to give it to the people, but they're going to require you to kneel to their master, Lucifer. Okay. And how are you going to do that? Well, you're going to take that mark of the beast, either your right hand or your forehead. Plain and simple. Let's continue. It says, yes, they will print this money and much more as deficits mount. This is the total sum of global debt, derivatives, and unfunded liabilities. When all the dominoes start falling and no one can meet their obligations, this is what governments are left to finance. Yes, they will print this money and much more as deficits mount exponentially due to collapsing currencies. But the modern monetary theory clowns will then find out that printing money rightfully has zero value, right? And this goes back to that whole understanding of what happened in the Weimar Republic in Germany before the Nazis came into power, where you had such a heavy inflation increase that country, they had to literally take wheelbarrows full of money to buy some bread. And actually, they talk about it right here. Look, if these clowns studied history, they would learn that the MMT has never worked. Just check the Roman Empire, right? And check that out, man. See, this is how the Roman Empire collapsed. This shows you that we are living in the Roman Empire all over again, man. France in the early 18th century or the Weimar Republic, Zimbabwe, Argentina, and Venezuela in the 19th and 20th century. So when fiat money dies, how much gold is required to repair the damage? If we look at the cube below, with all gold ever produced in history, we see that it is 198,000 tons, valued at 11 trillion, right? Which means there's not enough gold in the world to pay for the system, people. So you know what that means? That means that this is not something that can be fixed. This economic system that we are living, or economic system that is being driven into the ground, is not meant to be repaired. They're going to replace it, right? And this is how they're going to cause it to collapse, man. They are going to basically run it right into the ground and even below, man. So central banks and investment gold, 77,000 tons, 4.3 trillion, right? So this is all the gold that has ever been created, right? Or this is, this shows you, says, let's actually read it. It says, below the cube, the total central bank and investment gold is shown. This amounts to 77,000 tons, or 4.3 trillion. That sum represents a 0.2% of the total debt and liabilities of 2.3 quadrillion, as shown in the time bomb. So you see that, people? There's not enough gold or physical assets in this world to pay off this debt, okay? So they're not going to fix this. They're simply going to use this as a weapon to get you to take that mark of the beast, right? See, this is also how you understand how, or you know that this is a tool of Satan, man. And when and namely through his people, these Edomites, man, because they weaponize everything, man. They weaponize food, they weaponize, statistics, they weaponize the media, they weaponize, even finances, man, the economy, right? It says let's see, the 4.3 trillion gold value is at a gold price of 1,750 per ounce. This minuscule 0.2% of liabilities obviously is far too small to support global debt. A 20% gold backing of total liabilities would be a minimum. That would be 100 times the current 0.2% of gold price at 175,000. I am not forecasting this level or saying that it is likely to happen. All I am doing is looking at the total risk that the world is facing and relating it to the only money that will survive. Also, measuring gold price in dollars serves no purpose, because when and if the scenario happens, the dollar will be worthless and the gold price measured in worthless dollars at infinity. What does that remind you of? This is James 1:5. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Right? So ultimately, man, this shows that these devils, man, this is the prophecy that shows that these devils would ultimately have the whole world in a deceivable scheme of fraud, and that we wouldn't be able to save ourselves, man. So much so that where it says here, the laborers, that would be the Israelites, man, the Negros, Latinos, Native Indians. We are the laborers. We're the ones that have made this world as profitable and as wealthy as it is, man. We are the workers in these factories. We are the cooks in these restaurants. We are the inventors of the items, right? We are the people that make these gears turn in this economic systems of these Edomites, man, right? And it is obvious that we are kept poor purposely, right, by fraud, okay? But it tells you, man, that our cries have reached onto the ears of the Lord, right? And the Lord is now going to pay back these devils, man. It tells you here, it says Jeremiah 40:10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, right? And what are those secret places? Ultimately, that's his, witchcraft, his what people call in the world the Illuminati, right? The Freemasons, all his secret, meetings, all the truths of his investment banking, which ultimately, when you get back into the dollar and the debt system, that all goes back to Babylonian, debt magic, man. Babylonian, doctrine, man. It's all the understanding of these secret occult worlds, man, that have gotten these devils to be as rich as they are, as living as lavishly as they do. Continuing, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not. Right? So ultimately, man, these devils, man, they don't have a leg to stand on, man. They don't have something that they could go to, man. This is it for them, right? This is how their kingdom is going to go down. Now, ultimately, they believe that they're going to be able to push through this agenda, right? To get everybody in the world chipped, to do the Great Reset, to kill off the vast majority of the world, and ultimately continue on with their dominating of the world. This is why these devils are doing what they're doing. One, and also because they know that the Lord is on his way back. So what are they doing? They're putting all their chips into one basket, man, because they know that the countdown has begun, man. Right? They know that the buzzer is about to ring, and they're shooting their final shot, man. And that's why they're doing such a crazy ass scheme like this C-19 pandemic, man, because these devils, they got to go big, or they got to go home, right? And they don't want to go home, man. It tells you that these devils, they're vagabonds upon the earth. They're vagabonds and fugitives that don't want to pay for their crimes, and they don't want to stay at home, right? And they ultimately are depending on the world taking that chip on and buying what they're giving out, man, which is this new world order, this new great new world, and the Great Reset that they're trying to sell to you and make it seem like it's all flower and roses, man, but it's not. And people are seeing that this is a raw deal, and this is why you had such hesitancy with taking these jabs and following the politician and the place puppetry that has been set up by the Edomite kings of the world, because people are starting to realize that this system no longer is for them, right? People are starting to wake up, right? But let's go ahead and just finish this article, and then we should be done with this, Akim. It says also measuring the gold, focus on wealth preservation. Rather than focusing on a potential gold price measured in dollars, investors should worry about preserving their wealth in real estate held outside of bankrupt financial systems. Regardless of what price gold and silver reach, history proves that it is the ultimate form of wealth preservation, right? And that's ultimately, again, like what I said, if you got money to spend, Akim, if you have any savings, you should probably get it out of the dollar, right? You should get it into something tangible, real estate, a house, something that you could hold on to, okay? It will not be different this time. Therefore, in the coming crisis, precious metals will be the best insurance to hold as protection against unprecedented global risk. And this is why Apostle Tahar and all the other apostles have been telling everybody to buy gold and silver. And again, you could buy that. Easiest way to buy gold is simply go to apmex.com. That's a place you could buy gold and silver, and 1 ounce and stuff like that. Just simply buy it little by little. Start buying. $40 here, $100 there. You'll start raising up your savings in gold and silver. Okay, gold rises since 2000 in no way reflects the massive money printing we have seen in this century. Still, as the graph below shows, gold is at the beginning a very strong uptrend that has very far to go in both time and price. And this ultimately just shows you how gold is going to continue to raise in price. Right here, you see it says 1744.20. It shows you how it's going to continue to grow. It's going to get even more and more valuable, and that's because the dollar is going to get less and less valuable, right? So as I say here, investors have the following choices, right? So these are your choices, Akim, right? Either they follow the coming crash in bubble assets like stocks, property, and bonds all the way to the bottom, which is likely to be 75-95% lower in real terms measured in gold, which means if you are investing in the housing market, and I'm not saying about you living in the house, I'm talking about you investing in stocks that are based off of housing prices or assets, 401k, things like that. You're going to lose about 75 to 95% of the value. Okay, so let's say you have $100, you only be left with either $7.50 or $5. Okay, or price or option 2, or they protect their wealth in physical precious metals stored outside a fractured financial system, right? So both of these options are your physical options of what you're going to do. Stay in the market and continue to play with assets, right? Or start, putting your money into a financially stable instrument, gold, silver, physical property, things that you could actually hold on to. Okay, and this also, Bitcoin, digital currencies are also good things, right? Bitcoin is a great choice. Dogecoin, Coinbase is another good thing to look into, right? But ultimately, remember, man, it doesn't matter how well you invest, how great of choices you make, as long as if you do not have the Lord, at your foremost, mindset, right? If He's not number one, it doesn't matter how good or well you think you are, man. The Lord's gonna get you to trip up, man. He's going to take you out, either by accident or by you're gonna be a victim of circumstances, man, right? This is why you need ultimately the Lord. So out of all out of all the choices you have in front of you, remember, you gotta repent. You gotta turn to the Lord and make sure keep Him at the forefront of your thoughts, Akim. All right, so give praises to the Lord always. Thank Him every day, pray every day. Make sure that you ask Him for forgiveness and for blessings that make sure that He brings you through this mess. And with all that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Ruach HaKodesh. The honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.